Welcome to Synced on Air, courtesy of Turfs Up Radio. I'm Angelique Robb, your host, and today I have with me Jeffrey Scott from Jeffrey Scott Consulting. Welcome, Jeffrey. How are you?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, I know. Well, and I was just looking back. We had you on December 11th, but our listeners can also go back on any of the platforms that you get your podcast to listen to, a little bit of background on you, your thoughts on your fantastic job that you love so much, and you're helping people all across the country. So, yeah, go back and listen to it to get an intro into your background. So today, I wanted to lead people into what you're going to talk about at Sync Live. Thanks so much for agreeing to be with us live in Atlanta. So, so you're going to talk about, or should you say it?
No, no. Go
Yeah.
ahead. You're on a roll.
Okay. Okay. Um, the ultimate succession plan. And so, we don't want to give away all the goodies, that you're going to share with us, but, I thought what an interesting topic. And maybe you could tell us about how, you know, you started teaching this, or talking about this, how long ago, and how did you start, or why did you
Uh,
start?
yeah, the topic really has come up from multiple angles to
Okay.
converge for this talk. And so one angle is the whole baby boomers retiring generation
Okay.
and getting ready to figure out what their succession plan is. The second trend is we're seeing younger entrepreneurs in the landscape industry that are just more sophisticated than they were, 30 years ago at that age. And they're more forward thinking. They're not just thinking, hey, like a farmer, I will work until I die, but they're thinking like, oh, this is a business and I'm going to do this and I'm going to build it up and then I'm going to go on and do something else. So there's that trend. And then there's also the trend of a lot of acquisitions happening, which is maybe related to the first trend, but there's that trend where it looks like, gosh, that's the only path out of here. And gosh, I should do it now, kind of regardless of what my company's valued at. And so we've got a convergence of trends where people are looking for this succession plan. How do I create a succession plan? Assuming, I don't want to just go sell the business tomorrow, but I really want to maybe set it up to sell it later on down the road, or I want to retire in place and have my team run the business so I can take the dividends from the business while the company's growing and then worth even more in the future. And um, so there's all that. Plus, uh, I've worked with a fair amount of partnership businesses, either two non-related partners or sibling partners or father-son, father-daughter. Do I have any daughter-son? I have to think about that. I think not, but there are definitely more daughters in the business than mothers who were the primary owner, let's say. But
Okay.
nonetheless, a lot of these partnership businesses, where succession planning really is an even more difficult conversation when there's two people involved,
Yeah.
two
And they have
co-owners.
different visions on where they want to be in 10 years, or I mean,
All that.
are you thinking 10 years ahead, or is this 30 years ahead, or 5 years ahead for most of your clients, or your
Well,
conversation?
gosh, there's so many. I've got a client in the Detroit area, and he's like, you know what? 7 years, I'm out. Let
Okay.
or I want to have the choice to be out, or the opportunity to be out, you
Yeah.
know, and let's start going there now and setting this up. And that's a reasonable way for people to think about it. I want to be out, or I want the choice of possibly being out. But let's start today to march there. And it really does take time. Some people think it takes 10 years. I'm certain you can do it in 7. I think 10 years is sort of the what 10 years does is it gives you chances to screw up and fail and start over again.
Okay.
So if we can eliminate the failures, then we can do it quicker than that. But you
Can you
definitely
do
want
it
to,
any faster than 7?
well, listen, if you've only got three, we'll do what we need to do in three. But if you're planning ahead, uh, it's a good question. Actually, let me answer it differently.
Okay.
I have found that when I'm coaching with a landscape business owner, any business owner, that I can help them achieve their BHAGs, their long-term goals, in roughly half the time, somewhere between 40 and 60% of what they thought it would take.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but succession planning is the ultimate BHAG. And so I love quoting Warren Buffett. His number two, his second in command was just passed away at what,
I know.
99 or
Something
something?
like that. Yeah.
Charlie
Yeah.
Munger.
Charlie. Yeah.
So Warren Buffett really started making all his money when he was at close to not retirement age, but like 50, 55. That's when his wealth really took off.
Okay.
And in my talk, I'm going to show a little graph of that. And so it's amazing how the value of your business just assuming you put the same energy into it consistently, it's really going to be one of these growth curves that takes off up and fast to the right. And so that's where the retirement in place, if you're not urgent to sell it, but are urgent to set it up to run without you, then you can really set up a win-win situation for your team, for you, for your cash flow, and for the ultimate value of the business.
Mhm, mhm. Well, it's interesting when you talked about the mergers and acquisitions because it made me think that I guess in my head I was thinking, is that more on the maintenance side and the design and build? Do you see any split that's different? You gave the
Well,
three angles, or is
it
it?
all it all started from commercial maintenance, but it's now leaking into residential maintenance and commercial and residential design build. And so um, I would say as the finance industries, and I say industries like, there's different finance comes from different angles. As they become conversant and comfortable with our industry, they realize that
There's value.
there's
Yeah.
value in the different sectors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do they love install? No. Do they love snow? No. Uh, but but they're learning how it all fits together.
Okay. So you actually see that it could be more prominent in the future as investors know more about our business,
Oh,
or
it for sure is. It's a
okay.
continuum. You look back 10 years, things we didn't do 10 years ago that we do today. And you won't believe that last night, for the first time ever, my wife and I started watching Seinfeld.
For the first time ever.
I've seen a couple shows, but I'd never watched it from the beginning. And gosh, the humor it's like watching a master class. This guy, what's the expression when the student is ready, the teacher appears? And so he's appeared in my life. And it's funny to see how old-fashioned things look.
Oh, I know. I
And
know.
that's, I guess it's like 20 years old, is it? Not, I mean,
Oh,
it's
I
maybe
think it might
older.
be more.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
tried to show my kids and they were like, this is old.
It's old because the guys look so young. And so it's amazing when you look back how things change so quick. So what looks out of the norm today, residential, it'll be the norm in, 5 or 10 years or
Mhm.
soon. It's already becoming that way.
I guess I wonder with the mergers and acquisitions versus the other ones, or is that maybe meant for the people that didn't want to be a business owner in the first place? They wanted to, or I don't know. I don't
No,
know. I just wonder if
no,
they
no, no.
different classifications or no.
No, I
Okay.
think if you didn't want to be a business owner in the first place, you may have had trouble scaling your business,
Well, that's
and I,
true.
I
Yeah.
can help you there because you can set up a team to do that for you.
Okay.
I've worked with Naylor Landscape. I think he'll be okay me mention this. I do work with him, and we brought in a professional manager, and Barney gets to go fishing when he wants, and he loves fishing, so he gets to go
Awesome.
fishing a lot. And
Yeah.
so, and I'm not saying he wasn't enjoying running the business. I mean, he did enjoy it, but you probably won't get too far without some passion and enjoyment. So back to your question, mergers and acquisitions, um, it's just a way to exit the business.
Yeah.
It's a financial exit. You get paid, you know, you yeah. So I think the bigger you are, the more interesting it is. If you're smaller, then you should think twice or three times about what you're going to do for an exit.
Mm.
Because, you know, at a smaller size, you're basically selling your client accounts and your equipment, your assets. And so to get some real added value, you've got to scale the business. And so that's what we're going to talk about in this talk. The
Okay.
succession planning, the subtitle is setting up your business to run itself. And of course, you can't just walk away, but you can go fishing an awful lot and
Yeah.
still get that business running without you.
Well, and it's really interesting because I know quite a few people that have sold their businesses to develop products that are going to be at Sync Live as a vendor. So again, you know, they've done that in order to take a completely different path. But it
Well,
does make you think that yeah, they could have kept both maybe.
well, I think all entrepreneurs pivot. All great entrepreneurs pivot. I think we could talk about you, Angelique, as a
Oh,
pivoter. And so I've pivoted, you've pivoted, all entrepreneurs pivot, all successful business owners have to pivot, even if they stay in the same business.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you don't have that pivot skill, you're you're probably going low and slow.
Okay, good, good. Well, and you also mentioned the baby boomers retiring. I've heard that, it seems like there's a lot going on in the nursery side of things with retiring nurseries and growers and things like that. But you're seeing that a lot in the landscape company realm too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Well, when will this podcast come out?
In January.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm just curious. So like middle January?
Yes,
I gotcha. So, all right, back to your question. Sorry.
that's okay. Um, so you're seeing a lot of baby boomers retire
I'm seeing
for
people.
landscape.
So, Angelique, that's the trend in the entire world, or the entire
Yeah.
Western world, or at least in the U.S. and Canada, where I mean, it's probably Europe too, right? After World War II, blah blah blah. We got the baby boom, and now they're retiring. It's the biggest wealth transfer in history, trillions of dollars that are going to get transferred and really have a huge impact on our economy. I always love looking at macroeconomics. Macroeconomics, the reason it's so interesting is because it's the major movements happening that are going to happen no matter what else happens. They won't be stopped and they will have a big impact. So this transfer of wealth is happening. Nothing's going to stop it. And, nothing, within this current world. And so it's going to have a huge impact. I don't think it's fully understood what that impact will be unless you're a financial planner or a lawyer because you know how you're making your money on this. But so there's
And
a
is
lot of
that the next 10 years? Is it, sorry, I don't even have a
eh,
feel for what that is.
well, it's already been going on for 10 years and it's
Okay.
and it's
Maybe
now
another 10 or
and it's the next
5.
10. Like I'm working with some people that, they should have retired 5 years ago, but they love the work. Now, we have this whole thing how you have to retire at 65. Uh, and that really uh this whole concept, I think the people lived to be 67 when that retirement age first came out. So you get to retire and we're going to give you a pension 2 years before you die. But retiring is not really let me think how to say this. What are you going to do after you retire? Some people want to go play
Mm.
golf. Others love working. I mean, if you're a leader who that gives back and creates such big impacts, you don't want to stop doing that necessarily. And so,
I
uh,
agree.
but back to your question. So I've seen people that, man, they should have figured this whole succession plan out 5 years ago. They're old and they love working. They're still working, but maybe they have to keep working. And it's always hard for me to tell, does somebody keep doing that because they just love it or because they have to do it? And so I think it's important to create that choice for yourself, and then you can figure out what you're going to do with your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And you could maybe, you know, work part-time and on the business and take more time to yourself.
Yeah.
Um, and then see if you like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
I've
but
already told my husband that I don't plan on retiring, and he was like, "What? I
you're
just want
kind
to
of
work
young, Angelique.
less."
You
What?
might change your mind because you're young. Who
I'm
knows?
50.
As I was saying, I'm going to talk to you in 5 years and we'll see what you're saying. You're
But
like,
I
I'm
do
done
want
with
to.
this. No, I want to say one thing.
Sure.
When people sell their business, they get this money. But when you sell your business, you're leaving probably the best investment cash flow generator you've ever had, where you might be making 50% return on your investment, or at least on your capital, in many years. That's huge. You can't get that anywhere. And so you really have to think about what you're going to do financially when you retire if you're going to sell completely. So it's a complicated, uh, or it's a decision with a long tail, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and hence the what you said about preparing for it and just giving yourself options, I think sounds like a really smart thing to do.
Yeah.
And how long have you been coaching businesses on succession planning?
Gosh, I mean, it's like I said, it's that I've been doing this consulting and coaching for 16 years. Before that, in like two lifetimes ago, I have probably three lifetimes in my career. I was doing international corporate consulting. And then you have to probably listen to the last podcast and you'll get the whole history.
Okay. So really the whole time you've been working,
But
you've been talking
that was
about
corporate. Well, that was
okay.
corporate. But then when I got into the green industry, or I've been in the green industry my whole life, but when I decided to do coaching in the green industry 16 years ago, it started popping up from the very beginning and just
Okay.
picking up speed as all these trends have converged.
Changes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I do think it's a great I think it's an eye-opening topic for businesses to think, think now about where you can be in 5 to 10 years, 15 years. I mean, even if you are just starting your business, I can see how it's valuable to just have that in your mind, what you want to do eventually.
Yep.
And think about it because when you think about something, you make decisions with that in your mind, even if you don't realize it, I think.
Yep.
Um, so,
Right. So it's about being more intentional. You know, I was just thinking while
yeah.
you're talking, I don't think the audience knows that we have something in common that we've both pivoted away from. And
Oh, okay. Oh,
you,
good. Okay.
you're looking at me like, what is he talking about?
I know I
Well,
am.
what's that?
I am. What are you talking
Right.
about?
Well, we both have degrees in chemical engineering.
Well, mine's petroleum engineering,
Oh,
but very
petroleum. All right.
close. Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
All right.
We are both engineers. Yeah.
And we have both pivoted away from that. You know, I was thinking back, I don't mean to do a little sidebar here, but I was thinking back just yesterday that at one point in my life, I was interested in architecture and my teacher poo-pooed it. And
Really?
I immediately, I'm like, go. And I immediately turned away from it. Um, and it's interesting, if I had studied architecture, might have actually studied landscape architecture. I don't know. But it's amazing as leaders, the words we have can have huge ripple effects. I get a lot of feedback on the positive where people say, you said this or you told me to do this like 10 years ago. I won't remember it all. And that has had such a positive ripple effect on what I've done. And as leaders, and you're a leader with your whole media and influence that you have going on, we have to be so careful on what we say in the offhand comments because it has huge ripple effects.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean, just saying about university, I mean, that was a long time ago, but it still sticks in your mind. You know,
that no, no, that was middle school,
oh, that was middle school.
and I was
Wow.
middle school or high school, maybe it was high school, and I was going to do a whole project, and I was psyched. I was really into architecture, and the teacher just poo-pooed it, and I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be interested in that, and kind of moved away from it.
Well, so similar story in that I was at LSU, Louisiana State University, and why I went there, it was away from home, but not too far. I loved LSU football as a party school. I love parties, and I got a scholarship to go in engineering, and I
Wow.
didn't know what to go into, but everybody said you're good at math and science. But I was looking at art schools and engineering schools, and there didn't seem to be anything that mixed the two. Um, and now I think that's landscape architecture.
Mm,
It's like
yeah.
construction and art
Mhm.
together. And I remember because I mean, LSU was really known for the architecture school. And I remember going, gosh, I wonder if I should have gone in architecture. This is while I was at university,
Yeah.
going, maybe I should go into architecture. But something just felt too rigid about it. And I think it's because it was buildings. I only thought of it as being buildings. I didn't think of it as being landscaping. And like if I wonder, I just didn't even know it was a thing
Mm,
until fast forward, I was in the oil industry, working in Houston, and how I would chill out after work is me and my dog would watch like garden or well yard transformations and stuff like that. And then I got a piece of graph paper, that's how long ago it was, and designed my own hardscaping backyard with a deck, patio, pergola, all this stuff, and then went to um, Lowe's or I don't know what, Home Depot, and said, and I had like 3 pages of equipment and tools and decking boards and paving that I was going to buy all in one go. And that's how I had any taste of the landscape industry.
mm,
Um, but yeah, I know it is funny how, but I also think that to get where you're going, it doesn't have to be a straight line. So for me, I love my zigzag line getting into
yeah.
the industry
Yeah. Yeah.
because it, I pull on for synced for the different sectors of the industry. I pull on the different reorganizations that I've been through with Amoco, BP, Shell, all these companies, because again, you have to have the technical strength in each sector, but you also have to know a little bit about what goes on in all the sectors to really make it matter and
Yeah.
to really raise the bar. And a lot of the things that I want to do, so my vision for the future with Synced has a lot to do with what I saw in the oil industry.
Yeah.
Um, and so, and again, you could probably say the same from your journey back into the landscape industry.
We should
Um,
tie this back to what we're talking about here, and I have a great tie-in.
oh, good.
And so when you're hiring someone to help you run your business, you don't have to hire from the green industry,
No.
from the landscape industry. You need a professional manager.
Yep.
And that professional manager, okay, they may not come from the oil refinery business. Well, I'll take it back.
But
They
they
might
could.
come from the oil
Yeah.
refinery business. I have a client and his general manager came from the nuclear industry
Wow.
and she's running his business. Uh, and we're coaching her, helping her do that. And so your general manager, your
Yeah.
management team, really, you just if you're willing to look outside the green industry, you
Then
can,
any industry is available to you.
yeah, the talent out there is huge. If
Yeah.
you just take our blinders off that we think, oh, you've got to come with these technical skills. And I think that's a real plus for our industry. That's going to really help professionalize it when
Yes.
we attract not just plant nerds into the industry, but people
Or
that,
hardscaping nerds too. It's
yeah,
not
not
just plants.
plant nerds or wrenches, right? A lot of you guys are wrenches, and that's how you got in the industry, or ex-farmers, or, I came in from the pool industry. That's what my family did. So hardscape or pool, but people that are like, oh, they want, it could be their second career choice,
Yes.
right? Or just their career path. And they're like, there's something very wholesome about our industry, which I believe. And
Yes.
so I think we can really expand this industry. It's been shrinking in the colleges, but I think we can expand it. So back to the ultimate succession plan, have your be wide open when you're looking for talent to help you go from here to there.
I totally agree. I was actually going to start another project before I left Scotland on, I think all young people, um, let's say, when I was getting out of school as an engineer, uh, well, okay, maybe my example isn't that good because it's the petroleum industry, so I couldn't, but let's say you're an engineer, a mechanical, chemical engineer. I think it would be great to offer because I didn't when I was at university, I didn't know what a job felt like until I started doing summer placements. And
Yeah.
that's what was good about the oil industry in South Louisiana. You could get placements in different companies, and learn what a real job looked like. But I think, and I did hire in my design and build company in Scotland, I did hire engineers, people in different businesses to intern with us. They were looking for a job, didn't find a job that they liked, and I said, "Okay, do you want to learn how to build decks? And let me see if you can build it to our standard. And if you can, then I will be able to put you on jobs." And so they could figure out if they like working with their hands, because engineers usually like working with their hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I would love for my own kids, I would have liked it for me. Um, you know, take do 3 part-time jobs when you get out of university. One in, let's say you're an engineer, maybe a part-time job at NASA, a part-time job in a chemical company, a part-time, you know, to see what real work is like.
So
And
back, I'm going to tie this back to our green industry again.
okay,
So
good.
I, I think this concept of internships is actually picking up speed. I have more and more
Oh, good.
clients attracting employees through their creating these internship programs. And so I think what you're chatting about here is very relevant to the industry. I just want to say one thing. Um, we are starting up a new peer group March 4th. And so by the time this comes out, it's still not too late. If anyone here is interested in kind of getting into the community where we share all these ideas, everything I'm talking about here, including how to
Mm,
set up internships, is something we have constant discussions on within our peer groups.
mm,
So if anyone's ever interested in that, if you go to jeffreyscott.biz and you go to my peer group page, you can make an application not too late because this is the fun stuff. This is why I love running my peer groups because I get to use it as a test case for my ideas. I have an ear constantly on what's going on, and we're always sharing best practices.
mm.
And this internship idea really is taking legs. Some do it into high school. Well, I'll call that a maybe. But many are doing it in the colleges. Um, and so I'm in the high school can actually work and increasingly more so, but also in colleges, depending on where you're located, a great way to build a pipeline for
Mm.
your company.
And also, it not only for your company, but also educating younger people on our industry. And even if it's not for them,
Yeah.
actually, they might talk about it, and that word of mouth. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like our industry is so amazing. And there's so much science. There's so much, you know, there's a variety of jobs, managerial, project manager, sales, horticulture, the
Yeah.
design side, people management, that like there's so much to it. We should be attracting heaps of people.
Yeah, yeah.
We,
Well, it's up
eh,
to us to do what we're talking about here, to attract those heaps of people. So it's up to us. So one of my clients, Shanna, um, has a company in Indiana, Pennsylvania. That's Pennsylvania, by the
oh,
way.
okay, yeah.
And so she goes and talks to women in landscaping, uh, to the colleges, and she uses that as a recruiting tool, but an educational tool where she mentors the women in how to navigate this male dominated industry because because that's an issue. I've always been a believer that, man, if we could get as many women interested in our industry as we have men, we could solve our workforce problems right there. And so, I mean, I know that's a bit of a black and white statement, but it would have a huge impact on the
Hmm.
workforce.
Yeah,
So we need to get everybody excited about our industry.
yeah. And let people know. I mean, we love our industry, but do enough of us tell people that aren't in the industry that,
That's
how
right.
does it show? Um,
Do we want to talk? I'm gonna have to run in a second. Do we want to
yeah.
talk about the what we're doing at your Syncton Live?
Yes, please, please.
We
So
you
you're doing a
start.
talk. Okay,
Yeah,
so you're doing a talk at 1 o'clock on February 14th. That's the Wednesday of our Sync Live event in Atlanta. And it is going to be about the ultimate succession plan. However, later that evening, for our VIP ticket holders, you're going to have a special session.
yeah.
Do you want to tell us
A
about
v,
that?
it's a VIP dinner. I think we agreed 6 p.m.
Yes.
and right after happy hour, and we'll have 20 people over dinner privately, and we're going to get into more details on and a back and forth conversation, a dialogue on the realities of this ultimate succession plan. For those that come, they'll bring their own test cases. We'll talk about trials, tribulations, next steps. So we'll really get into a deep. We'll take the conversation deeper
Mhm.
over dinner.
That's a great idea. Yeah. Yeah. So if those of you listening, you still on the fence about whether you're coming or not, this is a great opportunity to work with Jeffrey Scott, learn a lot about your options when it comes to your business, no matter where you are in the game. And then also those VIP ticket holders have the opportunity to work it through and have that conversation with Jeffrey. So yeah, it's going to be so fun. I can't wait. I am so looking forward to Atlanta. And yeah, just really inspired by everyone that's coming. And I'm getting messages all the time about it. So please feel free to reach out to myself or to Jeffrey about, Sync Live. He's going to be there answering all your questions. So bring them along. Where can everybody find you, Jeffrey?
Until I'm there,
Until you're there.
you can find me virtually at jeffreyscott.biz. That's Jeffrey. I'm very active on LinkedIn, so you can find me on my LinkedIn profile, and of course, other social media, Instagram, etc.
Awesome. Well, great. Well, if I don't see you before, see you in Atlanta.
We'll see you then.
Great. Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you.